My proposal is far simpler, so I didn't feel it necessary to print it out. I'm concerned with how much we're spending here, given the instability in outside funds and the instability of federal programs. I think it's fairly obvious to me that if the federal government pulls back its financial support, that our community is going to want us to fill that gap. And I'm concerned about adding new ongoing commitments. I'm concerned about funding new programming. I'm concerned about the being at a minimum 12% in our reserves. I think from a prudent perspective, I'm willing to fund a few one-time things that can generate revenue, like the Millennium Youth Center, which can now, with the result of those funds, can have more events and generate some revenues for themselves. The Asian American Resource Center Master Plan, which, as I've spoken to them about it, would facilitate private monies to implement that master plan. I'm willing to explore the living wage for all the temporary employees. I think that's, as a matter of principle, it's the right thing to do. I also think it's important for us to answer fully and strongly the fallout from the DNA lab, which is all the sexual assault counselor training and the new FTEs for sexual assault. I think these are obvious and straightforward things that need to be funded. I can also make a case for ADA improvements in the parks, and there's a much larger bill attached to that than just what we're going to fund this year, but it is a clear, straightforward mandate that these are things that we have to do. And the translation services, additional translation services for boards and commissions meetings in terms of government that works and government being accessible to the entire community. But these are fairly small numbers in the large picture, and it is my preference that as much of that be put into reserves, or maybe even split in part with a senior exemption, but so that we can be in a place over the next fiscal year to respond as fully and appropriately to changes at the federal government. I feel like our community will demand from us that we do it. And we need to make sure we have the fiscal resources to keep whole the programs that we have. And I'm concerned with spending down these reserves in a way that will make it more difficult, that might threaten our reserves balance, and maybe in a one-time situation it's okay, but I don't think we're in a one-time fiscal challenge. I think this is over the next 3 or 4 years. Let's hope it's just over the next 3 or 4 years that we're going to be facing this type of instability. And I want to be prepared as a city to fulfill the promises that we've made in the past. And I think that requires that we not make a bunch of new promises to the community. It is not easy, and it is not going to be fun, and it is not necessarily going to be fair. But I don't want to get into a place where we're having, in next year or in the year after, having to scale a bunch of stuff back because of instability changes elsewhere in government. I know that some of you have expressed previously a willingness to entertain expanding the reserves in this way. I don't know that the full support is there to do it, and that's my concern. On some of the things that I'm seeing laid out, the PrEP funding, the pilot program, we've spoken to public health. They have said they will do that with existing funds. That's what my office has been told, so I'm not sure that it needs to be a concept menu item. And the quality of life study from the commission, I've been talking to at least the chair of that commission about that being something that can be done next year as the commission gets its feet under itself. But I don't know that what I'm saying is necessarily supported by enough council members to do it. But I implore you that we have to be restrained, if in no other year than this year, because we cannot predict what horrible, terrible cuts are going to come for programs that are necessary, that are important, that our community relies upon, that will hurt the most vulnerable and the most at risk. And I want to make sure that our city is prepared to fulfill that need and at least keep our community out of harm's way as much as we can.